The waiting room smelled of antiseptic and fear. Nurses hurried past with clipboards, their shoes squeaking against the polished white floor. In the corner sat a tall man in a perfectly tailored navy suit, his silver watch gleaming under the fluorescent lights. His name was Victor Hayes, the CEO of one of the largest corporations in the city. He was a man who seemed unshakable in the boardroom, but tonight, his face was pale and broken. His only daughter, Amelia, just 16, lay unconscious in a hospital bed, her life slipping away. Victor clenched his fists as he looked at the door leading to her room. "They told me it was a simple infection," he whispered. "Why is she not waking up?" Beside him stood a maid, her uniform crisp but plain. Her name was Rosa, a quiet black woman in her mid-30s, who had worked in Victor's mansion for years. She was not family, not a doctor, and certainly not someone expected to speak up in moments like this. Yet she had always been the one who tucked Amelia in when Victor stayed late at work. She had been the one who listened to the girls' laughter echo through the halls, the one who noticed the little things that others missed. Now, Rosa's heart ached as she saw the girl she loved like her own child lying pale and still. But something did not sit right with her. She had been in that hospital room earlier, standing quietly in the corner as the nurse adjusted Amelia's fore. Rosa had caught a faint, bitter smell. It was subtle, but her instincts screamed that something was terribly wrong. Doctors came in and out, whispering in urgent tones, avoiding Victor's desperate eyes. One of them finally sighed and said, "Mr. Hayes, we are doing everything we can. But her condition is deteriorating faster than expected." Victor's jaw tightened. He was not used to helplessness. He wanted to throw money at the problem, call the best specialists, but even his billions could not buy his daughter's breath back. That was when Rosa's voice, trembling but firm, broke the silence. "Sir, something is wrong with the fore." Victor turned sharply, his face lined with disbelief. "Rosa, this is not the time." But Rosa did not back down. She had seen Amelia's lips turn an unnatural shade, seen the monitor spike every time the fluid dripped into her veins. She stepped closer to the bed, tears already welling in her eyes. "Please, sir. That fore, it is not medicine. It is poison." The words cut through the air like a blade. The doctors froze. Victor's breath caught in his throat. For a moment, no one moved. And then the monitors beside Amelia began to beep frantically, the numbers flashing red. Victor's world tilted. Could Rosa, the maid who had always stayed in the background, be the only one who noticed the truth that could save his daughter's life? The room erupted into chaos. Nurses rushed toward Amelia's bed as alarms shrieked from the monitor. The doctor barked orders, demanding epinephrine, another shouted for the crash cart. Victor's heart pounded so hard he thought it might burst through his chest. But through the storm of panic, Rosa's words clung to him like a lifeline. He turned to her, his voice shaking. "Rosa, what did you see?" Her eyes were brimming with tears, but her tone was steady. "I smelled something bitter when they hung the last fore bag. I saw her lips turning blue. Sir, I have raised children. I know when something is poisoning the body." The doctor, a man in his 50s with gray hair tucked under a cap, scoffed. "Mr. Hayes, with respect, we cannot base medical decisions on the instincts of a maid." Victor's head snapped toward him. For years people had feared his authority, but now his voice was not cold, it was desperate, raw. "And yet none of you have explained why my daughter is dying faster than she should. You say it is an infection, but her body is shutting down in minutes." Minutes. The staff fell silent. The only sound was the terrifying flatline beat that flickered for a second before stabilizing again. Rosa took a step forward. Her hands trembled, but she pressed her palm against Amelia's tiny wrist as if shielding her from unseen harm. "Check the bag," Rosa whispered. "Please, before it is too late." The doctor hesitated, but Victor's glare left him no choice. A nurse unclipped the fore bag and held it up. Her brows furrowed as she sniffed the fluid. Confusion crossed her face, then dread. "Doctor, this does not smell right. It is too sharp." Victor's blood ran cold. He stepped closer, his hands shaking as he touched Amelia's forehead. "My baby, what did they give you?" The doctor's voice cracked now. "Switch the line immediately. Get her on fresh fluids. Run toxicology on this bag." Two nurses scrambled, replacing the fore with a new sterile line. Within seconds, Amelia's color began to shift, her lips regaining the faintest trace of pink. Her heartbeat steadied. It was not perfect, but the deathly spiral had paused. Victor staggered back, covering his mouth. He felt both relief and terror. Someone had tried to kill his daughter. In his own city, under the roof of a hospital he donated millions to build, she had been attacked. He looked at Rosa, this maid who had dared to speak when everyone else hesitated. Her eyes were fixed on Amelia, silently praying. For the first time, Victor truly saw her. Not as just an employee, but as the woman who had been protecting his daughter all along. The doctor turned pale as he held the fore bag in gloved hands. "Mr. Hayes, this was tampered with. This is not a pharmaceutical solution." Victor's chest tightened. His voice dropped to a deadly calm. Then find out who did this. Now. But even as he spoke, Rosa's gaze shifted toward the door. She remembered the nurse who had entered earlier, the one who avoided eye contact, who hurried away before questions were asked. Something in her gut twisted. She whispered, almost to herself, it was not a mistake. Someone wanted her gone. Victor's head turned sharply toward her. What do you mean? Rosa's hand tightened on Amelia's blanket. I saw the nurse's badge. I will never forget her face. Victor's eyes darkened. The weight of power returned to him, no longer the frightened father but the men who commanded empires. Yet this time, it was not business rivals he was about to crush. It was whoever had dared to poison his only child. The room filled with whispers. Doctors exchanged tense glances, unsure how to respond. The maid, Rosa, stood frozen, her hand trembling as she pointed at the four. Her voice cracked, but her conviction was unshaken. I know what I saw, Rosa repeated. The color of the liquid, it is not right. Please, someone check it before it is too late. Mr. Harlow, the CEO, turned to her, his face pale and lined with fear. For years, he had dismissed her presence as nothing more than background noise in his mansion. Yet here she was, standing between his daughter and death itself. The chief physician stepped forward, clearly offended. Madam, with all respect, you are not trained. We cannot waste precious time listening to. Check it. Rosa cried, louder this time, her voice echoing through the sterile walls. If I am wrong, you can fire me this instant. But if I am right, then she lives. That sudden silence, every breath in the room seemed to stop. The weight of her words pressed down like thunder. Even the beeping machines seemed louder, sharper. Finally, Dr. Patel, a younger doctor, grabbed the four bag. He held it up to the light, his brows furrowed. Within seconds, his face drained of color. This fluid is not what we prescribed. It is contaminated. Gasps erupted. Mr. Harlow's knees buckled as he gripped the railing of his daughter's bed. His voice trembled. What are you saying? Dr. Patel looked around nervously. Sir, someone tampered with your daughter's four. The words dropped like a bombshell. Rosa's eyes welled with tears, not from relief, but from the horror of what this meant. This was not a mistake. This was an attempt on the young girl's life. Mr. Harlow staggered back, clutching his chest. The men who had built empires suddenly looked small, helpless, and broken. His gaze landed on Rosa, the maid who had saved his only child. His lips quivered. If you had stayed silent, she would have been gone. Before anyone could react, the heart monitor spiked with frantic beeps. The girl's body shook, her breath shallow. Doctors rushed in, shouting orders, pushing carts, preparing emergency procedures. Rosa backed into the corner, her hands over her mouth, sobbing. She whispered desperately under her breath, "Hold on, child, hold on." But then, as chaos raged, Dr. Patel shouted something that froze everyone's blood. This is no accident. Someone inside this hospital tried to kill her. The room went deadly silent. The room fell into stunned silence. The words, "tried to kill her," echoed through every corner like a curse. Mr. Harlow's chest tightened as he turned to face the team of doctors, his voice trembling with rage and disbelief. Who would dare? In this hospital? In my daughter's room? The medical staff shifted uncomfortably, some looking away, others whispering nervously. But Rosa, her maid's apron still stained from tears, stepped forward. She looked directly at the four rack, then at a nurse who had slipped back into the corner. The woman's face was pale, her eyes darting nervously toward the door. It was her, Rosa said softly but firmly, her finger shaking as she pointed. I saw her switch the bag when she thought no one was watching. Gasps filled the room again. The nurse's lips trembled. You have no proof, she stammered, trying to edge away. But her panic betrayed her. Dr. Patel swiftly pulled the nurse's ID and checked the hospital records. His eyes widened. She is not even on shift tonight. She does not belong here. Security stormed in, grabbing the woman before she could escape. She screamed and thrashed, but her cries were drowned by the CEO's thunderous roar. You tried to murder my daughter, and you would have succeeded, if not for her. He turned toward Rosa, his voice breaking, his knees almost giving way. You saved my child when all my money, all these doctors, and all my power could not. How do I ever repay you? Rosa's tears streamed freely now, her hands trembling. I only did what any mother would do. I could not stand by and watch her die. She is like family to me. The doctors worked quickly, replacing the poisoned four with the correct treatment. Slowly, painfully, the girl's breathing steadied. The heart monitor calmed to a steady rhythm. Her eyelids fluttered open. Papa, she whispered faintly, her hand twitching in his. Mr. Harlow collapsed to his knees beside her, his tears falling freely. I am here, my angel. You are safe now. He looked back at Rosa, his voice breaking. Because of her. In that moment, the billionaire CEO understood something money could never buy: loyalty, courage, and the heart of a woman who had been invisible to him for years. The next day, the hospital board launched an investigation, but the world outside would only remember one headline: Maid saves CEO's daughter from poisoning. And when Mr. Harlow stood before reporters, he said only one thing: Rosa is no longer my maid. She is my family. The cameras flashed, capturing Rosa's tear-streaked face as she stood beside him, no longer overlooked, no longer invisible, finally seen for the hero she truly was.